Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. This is Jess Mukwena once again. Uh, I, Today, I just want to deal with the issue that I raised last week on Zulu nationalism, which actually followed the looting that has been going on in South Africa. Now, many people raise concerns around President Cyril Ramaphosa's presentation or address to the nation around ethnic mobilization. In the previous video that I uploaded, or the recent last one, I spoke about Zulu nationalism myself. And I said this has an element of Zulu nationalism, the lootings that have been going on in South Africa. But if you look very well, people might not agree that this has to do with Zulu nationalism or people who are Zulus trying to mobilize around the fact that they are Zulus. That is tribalism, that is ethnicity at its best. We do not condone that in South Africa because we are a diverse nation. It's not only Zulus that are in South Africa, but it's people of who speak different languages. Now, to prove that this indeed what the president was saying, that they stoke or mobilize around ethnicity, what he terms ethnic mobilization, the looting was confined in KZN or Kwa-Zulu Natal, where President Jacob Zuma came from, former President Jacob Zuma came from, and Gauteng. And if you look at the concentration of Zulu-speaking South Africans, they are concentrated in those two provinces. And if you look at the other provinces, the other 7 provinces of South Africa, there was no uprising, there was no looting. Many people really prepared themselves to stand against any form of looting and dissuaded people from looting. So there was no looting, it was just, they were peaceful, those other provinces, except Gauteng, some parts of Gauteng, not all of Gauteng, some parts of Gauteng and Kwa-Zulu Natal. And if you look at Gauteng, it is concentrated in mostly the hostels, where you have people that came from Kwa-Zulu Natal to come and work in Gauteng, accommodated in hostels. So this thing clearly, whether people like it or not, is a fact, because we can't sugarcoat the fact that this has to do with ethnic mobilization or Zulu nationalism. We can't sugarcoat that. That is why even the king of the Zulus had to address the very same issue. And he condemned even the looting, he condemned the violence that accompanied the looting. Remember, President Zuma himself said he's a Zulu boy, he's a Zulu, when he was addressing the media just a day preceding the looting and the protests. And also, if you look at him when he came out of his house, he came with the Amabut. The Amabut are basically the regiment. It's just a group of people who are like just praise singers and people who dance during traditional gathering. Even though in the olden days they were Amabut or the army. And President Zuma, when he came out, he was wearing his shirt, but carrying the spear and a shield, which is what all the Amabutos were carrying, the stick or a shield, or it's either a shield or a stick that people will normally carry, the Amabuto will carry, and a shield. Now, and the leader of the Amabuto, Mkijil, was there leading Amabuto, the traditional regiment. And remember, the leader of the Amabuto is based in the northern part of KwaZulu-Natal, but he's the leader of Amabuto under the king. And President Zuma claimed that he was part of the Amabuto himself. That is why he came with the stick and all those kind of things. So, but generally, it has nothing to do with the attire that people were wearing and the sticks they were carrying and the shield. But it has to do with the fact that because they saw him as a Zulu, and which he is, and they wanted to support President Zuma because he's Zulu, which is a problem, which is really a problem. So the whole thing of mobilizing people around the fact that you speak this language or you're a Zulu or you're from this tribe and all that, I mean, it's a very dangerous thing and we need to condemn it, all of us as South Africans. And I'm very happy that other provinces didn't join all the thing that was going on in Gaza, just preceding the violence that followed. So, in my view, President was correct to characterize this thing as part of ethnic mobilization or people stoking ethnic mobilization. That's number one. Number two, the whole protest of President Zuma to be released, the so-called Free Jacob Zuma campaign. I mean, it started as sort of as a release Jacob Zuma campaign. Agreed. We agree. It started like that, but it ended up being looting. Criminals began taking over, and there was this general looting in some parts of Gauteng province and in the Kwa-Zulu Natal province. And this thing caused huge economic interruptions. A lot of trucks were banned, lot of malls were banned, lot of shops were banned, warehouses were looted and banned. It became a chaos, and police could not deal with the situation. They actually were overwhelmed, and soldiers had to be deployed. They were deployed very late, 4 days after the looting started. People were deployed, the soldiers were deployed. They tried to quell the violence. But what helped the most to quell the violence? It was not the army or the police. It was the people who stood up and said no to looting and stood firm and said you can't loot in our own townships. You can't loot in our own suburbs. You can't loot within our neighborhoods. Those are the people that slowed down the whole looting. But the looting was just going on. Remember, soldiers were not authorized to go and shoot people. They were just there to support the police, and police could not even shoot a person. They never shot people. They just used rubber bullets. And soldiers don't go there with rubber bullets. Soldiers go there with live rounds, live ammunitions. When they go there to kill if you mess up with them, because they're an army. They're trained to fight in a war situation, not just to go there and try to massage some people's egos. That is not what the army was there for. It was just there to support the police. So people could just loot, and the army could only threaten them and get them out only. Of course, many people respected the army, but most of the people that played an important role are people in the neighborhoods where they actually stood guard and said, look, we are not going to allow those criminals, those hooligans, those looters to come and ban shopping malls in our areas. And that, I think the government must acknowledge that they were not prepared. The president said they were not prepared, which is true. They were not prepared for this looting, in the two provinces. They were not prepared. They were not ready. Our intelligence was nowhere to be seen. It was actually next to nothing existed. Because, I mean, people were saying, hey, they are going to do this and that. They'll make South Africa ungovernable in Gaza. They were making noise there. The intelligence was supposed to have interrupted that, but they failed to do that. So thanks to the people that stood up. And all of us, we need to appreciate the role that communities played. And even now, the communities are cleaning those malls and all that. I thought I should actually make a follow-up and take it from where I stopped last time around the video that I made last week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me. Hope to see you next time. Keep well and stay blessed.